It's that time of the month again where the Shadow Lizard Council of the World decides what to do with the interest rates. And of course, that is going to likely impact and be a catalyst for markets today. Ultimately, deriving the general direction from this consolidation that Bitcoin's been in for the past couple of weeks, essentially between about $97,000 to the upside versus about $93,000 to the downside. And in today's video, I want to be going over, of course, Bitcoin setup here, and then relate that to what I think is certainly a lot more of a clear chart that is going to give very much a strong indication on direction. But again, coming into today's event, anything can happen. It is after that event is where we're very interested to see where the pieces fall. After Bitcoin did have a nice little pump up right here, I think that was based off of an announcement or some sort of news coming out of who knows where. At the end of the day, it's kind of secondary to today's event, of course, and Bitcoin is still more or less in the exact same range that has been before. So first things first, I want to show some of the new technicals for Bitcoin here. We have indeed a new price action pivot. You can see that it's moved up. It's a very slight move up, of course, but it does, it does matter. Yesterday and for many days prior, it was, of course, at about 92,900. And based off of yesterday's price action and the way that the daily closed, of course, that has now moved up to yesterday's low, which on spot price action is about 93,450. That is to say, as long as Bitcoin is above that pivot, hopium still is alive for the Bitcoin laws here. But if you see Bitcoin even just really trade below that low at this point, that is an indication that Bitcoin's going to be headed likely decently lower, perhaps even much lower. But before we go more deep into that, I do want to discuss some of the other technicals here. We should be aware that daily volatility is extremely low. So a move is a brewing. And again, with a catalyst like we have a little bit later today, that is usually a pretty damn good, reason or justification to kind of leave this current range. So I suspect that, we're not going to see this price action, whether it be bullish or bearish, for too much longer. It can only stay down for so much longer. But when we go over here to the 2-day time frame, I do want to just very briefly mention, although it is a very minor amount, there is indeed some bearish divergence building right here between the high from early May and then, of course, the high that we're seeing kind of right now. Again, it's very, very minor. This is not a death sentence in any way, shape, or form, but it does suggest that, hey, if we do see below yesterday's low, that's a very conclusive signal. Again, taking out that price action pivot is important for the overall trend. And then on top of that, when we go ahead and look at stochastic momentum over here, which is on this chart, yes, indeed, there we go, we can see that it is still coming down, and still coming down, I would say, rather aggressively, because but the daily stochastic oscillator is about to lose that critical bullish control zone right here above 80 for the first time since this rally really got, underway in late April, actually. That was the 20th of April, where it actually entered into that zone again, and that was literally one day before the first big green dildo on this on this current pump. So I would be aware of that. This one again continues down and will obviously lose this area if Bitcoin does close today below 97,500, which is essentially the high of this morning. So as long as Bitcoin's below there, well, downside again going to be more likely. The 2-day time frame, which did close last night, I believe, yeah, we got a fresh one right here, did also indeed cross the downside despite yesterday's pump, right around the close. And that one is going to be headed down as long as Bitcoin is below 97,200. Not impossible for Bitcoin to reclaim that, of course, between today and tomorrow, where the closing will be, but something to be aware of. And the 3-day time frame, which also closed yesterday night, is now going to be pivoted at 96,700. So it is very possible that within the next couple of days, we're going to see all of these align with each other, being the daily, the 2-day, and the 3-day. Already the daily and the 2-day align with each other. But if the 3-day falls through and Bitcoin closes, I believe it would be on Friday. Yeah, Friday, below 96,700. Really good indication that, yeah, we are going to see at least a pullback and perhaps even a real breakdown. Other than that, very little's changed on the higher term timeframes. I still don't think that Bitcoin is going to be, if Bitcoin even does confirm a bull trap right here, I don't think it's going to take out the April lows anytime soon. But I do think that you could get decently into the $80,000 territory, which would be, probably at least a major opportunity. Again, more long term, let's go to a different chart. More long term, I still think that something like this would generally look more healthy for Bitcoin, meaning that that probably aligns with the overall bull market continuing into, I suppose, maybe even like late September, and probably does govern some higher overall targets as well, or at least justify that. But of course, if Bitcoin just busts on through right here, I'd feel very, 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 very confident in what I've been saying up until now, which is, well, I mean, it's basically the same thing, like very likely a top before September, with maybe 120 to 125 as the maximum before the next sort of major massive consolidation, which some people might call a bear market. Other people might be looking at it as just one major opportunity. Anyways, yes. Okay. So we got through that. What else do we want to be looking at? Yeah. Okay. Now let's get into what I think is the chart to watch, because it's just more obvious. Or actually, sorry, before we do that, let's go ahead and look at the daily HPDR. The daily HPDR actually did reclaim the median from yesterday. That is important, yes. But again, if you want an early warning signal that things are actually going to be breaking down, it would be coming back down and specifically closing a daily below the median, which is now 95,200. So essentially the same as yesterday. I do want to also bring up that over here on CME, we actually have not even seen it close above the median just yet. I think that it probably gets a chance to do that today. But hey, if you see it come back down below that number tomorrow around, again, low 95s, another major warning signal. But until then, hopium actually, I suppose, would favor the BULAs. It's just you can kind of see these higher term timeframes starting to hint at a switch around, especially at a pretty important region as well. It is the former breakdown that we saw from late February over here. So a lot of the time, these are counter points. Again, I'm not saying that Bitcoin's like going to zero, nothing like this, but if it does confirm that trap, again, first by coming down below the daily median of 95,200, that's your first major warning signal. And for the more aggressive people, it's probably enough of a signal. And then the second one is taking out, of course, that daily price action pivot here at yesterday's low. That would be conclusive for me, at least, to be looking for Bitcoin to go down to probably the mid 80s, something like this. Anyways, yes. Okay. Now let's get into the chart to watch. I've been waiting for this one for a while. It's a chart that we've spoken about a lot in the past, not so much in the recent past, just because it hasn't been super relevant. And that is the Tether dominance chart right here. And I just want to acknowledge that, yes, still long term, I actually do think that this thing does come further to the downside. If I put on my drawing tools right here, generally somewhere around here, where the red circle in the literal text that says somewhere around here is. But in the short term, we can see that this consolidation right here is it's consolidating. No, it gives us a very obvious sort of thing to be looking at that could very easily propel that incoming short-term pullback, thus confirming it probably before Bitcoin price action will. And it's actually pretty fucking simple. Anywhere above yesterday's high, yeah, that's going to be Tether dominance probably back up to 5.5%, 560-ish region. And that would probably imply that Bitcoin spot is going to come down, like I said, probably at least below $90,000. So do keep an eye on that, because technicals on this side are going to be favoring, of course, upside, especially as the daily here does continue up, as long as this thing's above 498, which it is well above right now. Again, with today's later event, like a lot can happen, obviously, but you can see that this is also switched around into a bullish posturing as long as it is above basically that same number, actually, 498. So as long as you're above 498, I mean, theoretically, this should have one more try to the upside, or at least it's a little bit more likely. But again, I don't think that, just like I don't think Bitcoin's going to break down, certainly below April lows anytime soon. I don't think this thing is going to like break out above the April highs over here anytime soon. Ultimately, I think it'd be an opportunity. But of course, if it did something like this, where it pops up here and then puts in, probably what's going to be a right shoulder and then comes down, well, that just means that this next potential move to the downside would be a major opportunity, because I do think that inevitably it will come somewhere down around here before this cycle is over. And that's why I do still say that, hey, it's very possible that Bitcoin could put in a new all-time high, like 120 to 125, which is not like a humongously new all-time high, to be fair, but, it's probably relevant to at least acknowledge. So fair enough. So yes, again, if you're looking for the objective signals on Tether dominance, it again is going to be the May 1st low of about 497. If we see Tether dominance come below there, especially alongside today's event, that's probably a good sign, especially if it closes below there, that Bitcoin is going to continue on with this, pretty impressive rally thus far, north of $100,000. And then of course, if this thing even just trades above yesterday's high, feel very, very confident in saying, hey, this thing's, heading up a good amount more actually, which is going to put downside pressure on spot price action, of course. Anyways, I did want to call out the most recent meta signal setup over here. It got a pretty much perfect setup on the 1 hour time frame. This one firing off at when? It fired off yesterday yesterday at 5, so I was probably asleep by this time because it's not 5 my time, it's 5 probably Eastern time, and the price was 163, and it has hit target number 1 and target number 2. Target number 1, as always, is very, very high probability, close to 70%. Target number 2, a little bit closer to 50%, although I believe it is under 50%, but it did indeed hit that one. Target number 3, which is very low probability, under 30%, that is 99,400. So it's not impossible. It's certainly not impossible, but it's just less probable, again, which is why I do think the downside, just according to the technicals here, is more likely. But as always, I'm not trying to convince you of anything either way. I'm just showing you what I'm looking at, and then whatever sort of deductions that you come up with from that, hopefully, incorporate it into your own analysis. Hopefully that is useful, and perhaps something to consider. Now, here's the thing with MetaSignals. I do actually want to very quickly announce that MetaSignals is having a very special offer for only this month of May. They're going to be offering 1 month free to all of their fucking signals, the whole damn package, for just $9. And you can find that promo in the link in the description below for MetaSignals. They do all sorts of shitcoins as well, which I'm not super interested in, but of course the Bitcoin setups I like to call out. So yeah, if that's of your interest, perhaps something to keep an eye on, because you have seen, especially these target ones for just about every time frame, be hit super fucking often. So just one of those things, man. Anyways, and then lastly, let's go check in on actually the new quantum wave strategy, the new quantum wave band strategy, which is a trending strategy right here. I'm backtesting this one from November 2018 to today. This particular strategy is not like the prior strategies that people were using on this that came with quantum wave bands, which were more scalping strategies on the 30-minute and 1 hour time frame. This, however, is a trend-based strategy using a bit different tools for this one. But we are going to be looking at the 2 hour, the 4 hour, and even the 12 hour for this one. But yeah, as far as the 2 hour time frame goes, this one since 2018 has been pretty damn good, very consistent. And yes, it's not going to be perfect. Profitable trades is just over 67.5%. But again, it's that profit factor that we're very interested in, because that is what keeps that equity curve up and to the right. Especially this one being, tested during some very diverse times. That included, the 2018 bear market, that included the Rona dump, that included, obviously the last couple bull markets, and even the 2022 just massive clusterfuck. So do keep, it's seen some shit. Let's say it's seen some shit. Anyways, the reason why I bring this up is because if you do have access to the quantum wave bands, on Teachable, you can grab this, by the way. It's just a part of the package now, in the same way that you grabbed all of the other indicator scripts. And what else do I want to say about that? I think that's pretty much it. Yeah. Oh, and then also, for the people who just want to try it out, you can actually get 7 days for free with pretty much all of our services now. Everything but the informational programs, and then of course the advanced stochastic, which I'll probably just create a monthly plan to do that one on as well. Because why not? Anyways, yes, my point is that, yeah, you can try it out for free. You can actually even try out the price action pivots for free. And of course, my favorite baby over here, which is the HPDR. But all of these playing a pretty, integral part in the daily analysis at this point. Anyways, that's enough shilling for one day. As always, I want to wish you the best. Take care, much love, and see you hopefully Thursday.